think I'm streaming. It's hard to tell. I'll probably just hang out just for a little bit. I'll start to do a bit of painting while we're waiting for people to creep in here. Yeah, I decided to do a super late stream because I was trying to do it in the middle of the day, but as most things go for me, it was quite impossible. I had a lot of stuff going on. And actually a couple interviews and meetings that I had. Oh, what's up, Juan Pablo? From Colombia. Nice. Nice to see you. Yeah, I had a couple of interviews with some pretty good prospects, so felt pretty busy today, but it was good. It was good busy. And now I just want to do a bit of a late night character painting using one of my favorite tools, Infinite Painter. I did a little bit of a demo the other day and I felt really good. Hope Lightbox went well for you. Yeah, it did, man. I freaking love Lightbox. I mean, that's kind of the point of why I'm streaming at this late hour, is because I was super inspired. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to draw every day, post something every day, as well as stream every day, at least during the weekdays. You know what I mean? If you guys have any questions of any kind, this is probably a good time to ask questions because I'll be hanging out here for a bit. Not too late because it's late for me. I need to go to bed. I'm super tired. I've been driving around. I just got back from dropping off my daughter from her, or picking up my daughter from her dance class. Well, granted, I took her there and then I stayed there. I did some sketching, which was fun, and then I drove home. I just got home literally 20 minutes ago. I'm so exhausted, but part of me is like, normally it would be like, oh, it's time to go to bed. It's okay. But I do want to kind of be a little bit more rigid and aggressive with this type of stuff. I do think that earlier that I do these, the better. So we'll see. See how I feel. Ooh, another Colombian. And then we got Mojo Arais in here. So good to see you. Why don't you guys come and begin sketching on me? If you're not drawing already, why don't you pull up your preferred drawing tool and then start sketching away. I will probably begin to start to organize and set a time aside for me to start hanging out, but I think just showing up is the strategy for now. Me showing up is good strats because it will create discipline, and then the discipline will create consistency, and consistency will create epicness. You know what I mean, dudes and gals? I just realized I don't have my headphones on. I probably should put them on. They allow me to only hear myself, so I can kind of do a bit of an audio test. What's up, Ricardo? I appreciate the love, man. Thanks. Appreciate it a lot, actually. Thank you so much. In fact, let me do this to make this a little bit more enjoyable for all of us. If you don't have any questions, why don't you request something? Tell me something to add to this design, and I'll try to add it live. It could be anything. The more thematic it would be cool, but it can also be completely off the theme. So let me know what you guys got, man. It's only the few of us, the dozen of us. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys hanging out. Again, I do know that there's better times to be streaming, but as a strategy to kind of make sure I don't fall off the horse, I'm going to try to show up at least once a day. Machine gun arm. How did I know that we were going to get off theme immediately? Let's do it. Machine gun arm. Not sure if this will do, but we'll see. I'll try to still make it work. There's this game that came out, I think it's called Scourge, that had like, it's kind of a first person shooter, but in the style of Belinsky. I think that's how you say his name. It's like super freaking grotesque looking weapons and stuff like that, and it was rad as fuck. And so I kind of want to maintain this design aesthetic with this guy, but give him like guns for his arm, like you said. That could be quite interesting. Long legs. I like it, Juan Pablo. Let's do it. How's Colombia been doing these days, my Colombian viewers? You guys doing okay? The weather's all right? I don't know any geopolitics are going on there. Hopefully it's nothing crazy. You guys are just living your best lives. I went to Bogota for a talk many moons ago, and it was really awesome. And it was funny because whenever I go, I usually drink and party with the people who go to the event with me and stuff. And one of the showrunners was like, "You Americans don't know how to drink," so he took me to this bar, and he offered me a drink called the Little Cowboy. I'm not sure if you know anything about that, but he was like talking all this game. He's like, "Yeah, the Little Cowboy gonna fuck you up," and I was like, "Okay, let's see what's up, dude." And then so we started doing the Little Cowboy shots, and I was just like, saying nothing, dude. What are you talking about? And then I made them drink a drink called the Irish Cow Bomb, which, if history repeats itself, you might actually not know what that is either. And it might be culturally insensitive, to be honest, the name of it. But basically, it's Guinness and a Bailey's, and you just drink them together really quickly. And man, dude, it destroyed them. They were like, "Oh God, how the hell do you drink this?" And I was like, "Dude, the Little Cowboy ain't nothing." So I'm not sure if you guys had the Little Cowboy in Colombia, if you know anything like that. Unless you don't drink, then there would be no reason for you to know this information, would there? You know? But I have fond memories of Colombia. Very fond memories. It's a very beautiful country. I heard from an art director who's at Marvel that Lipock was job begging, even though this year, due to massive layoffs, writer strike. Is that true? There's often some exaggerating coming from him, so I don't know. Um, Job begging. Just to clarify, FH, you mean like there are people trying to hire people? Like they're like, "Oh my God, please, please give us work," or "Please take the work that we have to offer." Can you just explicitly explain what you mean by job begging? Because job begging also can imply like people begging for jobs, which would make sense on the opposite end too. You know what I mean? What's up, Dave? Nathan Fox doesn't even have a job, and I was asking for work this year, and there's no work right now. Oh, okay. So it was as you implied. I mean, isn't that the point of Flatbox Network and trying to get jobs? Um, yeah. So there, when I was living in Nicaragua, like, there's no reason to have a lot of work. You know what I mean? And so I think what's happening, I think there's a consequence of two things. And I think that this is what is going on. This is my honest opinion. One, this time of year, people lose jobs just as a part of like corporate, the corporate. It's the end of the year. Let's start laying off people. And then just so you're aware, like if my prediction's true, you'll see in early January a huge uptick of job posts, meaning that people are going to try to hire just as many people as they've fired. Maybe not as many, but definitely a good amount, which seems really bizarre. But a lot of that is because of, they try to, it looks good for when you're filing your taxes, I would assume. And so when you're large corporations, like, look at all these losses, you know? So I think that's part of the thing. That kind of just commonly happens, and it's unfortunate consequence of like the corporate world in which we live in. And then there's the consequence of like what you described, like the writer strike, strikes in general, a combination of the pandemic, like all of the challenges that the pandemic has brought, now coming to fruition, and then on top of that, like inflation and global instability, I think only compounded something that was normally happening, because this would normally happen, but it wouldn't be so obvious and so huge. But I bet if you looked at a chart, like throughout the many years, you would see this pretty consistently. And there might be an uptick this year. And like there was a company that I was working for that literally just straight up shut down. And it was for a multi-billion-dollar game company. And so they just shut the studio down altogether, which is crazy to me. It was so bonkers. And so right now, yeah, absolutely. I'm almost as sure that people are trying to get more work. That has always been true. And when there was a time where people like myself and like including Nathan Fox, this wasn't too challenging, perhaps the timing makes it feel more challenging. But for what it's worth, um, I have always been in the consistent rate of like being approached for work. I always take any opportunity that I can that makes sense from my timeline. The last, like, for instance, last 3 or 4 months, I had like 2 jobs that I was doing, you know, like jobs. I had a lot of work. In fact, it was like too much work. And right now, I'm planning on taking on some more opportunities. Um, and for me, as much as I like contract work because it pays really, really well, contract work pays very well. If you're an American like myself, for those of you who are not American, although you can make a good amount of money from contract work or freelance, if you get sick one time, it can totally just demolish your bank account. So it's kind of pointless, isn't it? To have all this money that you put in your savings and then you get one bad broken bone, you got to like take 12 grand out of your bank account. Seems sucky, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So your art director isn't exaggerating. There is a bit of like a challenge. I heard that like for instance, Craig Mullins was also out here looking for work. Now, granted, Craig Mullins, is pretty well off in most instances, and I think he might be fine in the long term. I think it's literally at the end of the year, it was kind of a large scale amount of layoffs, but I promise you that there are a lot of opportunities that are just as available. Just this week, I have had a couple more meetings, um, and then a few interviews for new opportunities, a couple of which are full time, that I'm actually very excited about. Very, very excited about. And so who knows? And I don't doubt that the tides are hard. In fact, I talk to my students all about this all the time. And one of the things I told my students in the recent days, in the last few months that I've been teaching them, if not the last year, because of the horizon of AI, that I have only been convinced that being really good at what you do is like highly encouraged. This is something that made me uh like after going to Lightbox, only reinvigorated this in my bones, because I was kind of like, man, there are so many great artists out here, and there's so many great talent. I need to kind of contribute back to the community, get people back to becoming awesome. Because a lot of the people that I was talking with, and a lot of people that I felt were asking me questions about employment, I think that it's only going to get harder for these individuals unless they start becoming rock stars. And there was one there was one moment that happened too, where I was just like, damn, that's crazy how good some of these people are as well. Like there were some people that were on this award show that were students, and they were incredible. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, like there are some really good like people that are coming out of this like little award show that are just students that will almost certainly get some opportunities after this event, just because of how good they are, you know? Because people are always looking for high quality talent. You know what I mean? If you go to LinkedIn right now and just type in like there's always a good handful of opportunities, you know? It's just going to be a little bit tougher Now, I don't want to discourage anyone because I think there's also alternative strategies to making a living in the things that we do. In fact, I'm doing one of those things as we speak. I'm going to build back my YouTube channel, my online presence, my tutorial stuff. I think that's incredibly valuable, not only for me in terms of like any kind of monetary gain, but really just as a community builder. But really, my heart and soul is also just building out my own projects and making my own teams and being kind of in control of my own destiny, because I do feel that as time has gone on in the last 6 to 7 years, that the tools that we have available to us to make great content on our own has only become more and more easier. In fact, I was talking to my buddy, and he actually is planning on building an animation by himself, which I thought was really awesome. You know, so the opportunity to create the very things that could become blockbuster hits on your own has only become more and more obvious these days. Um, the things that concern me these days have almost less to do with my career as much as they do with just the world affairs, because it's all connected anyway, you know. And so that's kind of been on my mind a lot of these days. You know, I don't want to get too nihilistic. Kind of want to stay positive. I'm trying to get people to draw and paint. But yeah, the world, man, it's kind of going through a hurricane of affairs, isn't it? But I would say that starting sometime in the early next year, probably around end of January, early February, you will see a large uptick of people getting hired again. I think as a consequence of the pandemic and inflation, companies that would normally have not fired as many people as they did because they actually were looking at the books and were kind of like, yeah, we were very profitable in certain parts of the pandemic. And also, we are like dealing with inflation, so we can kind of leverage this when it comes to tax documents. So I think it's a little bit of greed that might be driving some of this stuff. Not all of it. Not all of it. Let's be clear. Um, but I also think that teams can be smaller, just generally speaking. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if you're still here. FH, it looks like you are. Let me kind of catch up. Yeah, I just kind of mentioned that. Oh, the market seems really bad right now. Yeah, I think if, like I said, if you look at a chart, this is pretty consistent throughout many years. It's like one of those things like where you look at the stock market, it's hard to tell when you're like looking at it from like year to year, but when you look at it from like decades to decades, it becomes more obvious kind of the trends. So it's not too crazy. But I do think there are a lot of legitimate reasons why it's crazy, and it's all interconnected. It's not like for instance, there was a very intense conflict going on right as we speak, and to think that that has no effect on the us around the world is naive in my mind. And so that can affect, like I have, like there's a lot of people that were supposed to go from that region to Lightbox that did not go for very obvious reasons, and that just kind of compounds, you know. Let me see. The pre-COVID people were hiring like crazy. I got a shit ton of work right after graduation from Arson. Now there's literally nothing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we're getting a bit of a rebound. I don't think it's in this. It's a. Let me put it to you this way. There's some companies that are actually that they've fired a lot of people, but they are also made a lot of money. So there is a bit of like they might have over hired, and also the parts of inflation. There's like a lot of factors. Kind of, you're getting to the point actually, FH. Like it's not as obvious to me what is the specific cause, but it is obvious to me that there's a lot of things, and there will be balance in the force eventually. I think that they're realizing, because I had some friends who uh, got laid off immediately at like places like Meta, but because they hired so many people, and I think it was a bit of an overcorrection, right? They were like, "Oh my God, what do we do? We're gonna make sure we never lose productivity, so we're gonna hire more people than we need." And then they were like doubly productive with all those people, and they also realized, hey, we might actually need less people because of the pandemic. But one thing that's clear to me, I remember I took this job just recently this year where this person was like, or the people that hired me, they said, yeah, we hired an AI artist and that person didn't work out. Who would have thought? You know? And so they brought me on, and I was a huge influence to the project. But the long story short is that uh, there is going to be a flux of properly hired people. Like, I trust me, I'm actually been looking for more opportunities myself, and as a consequence, it's like when it rains, it pours. I literally have interview after interview after interview after interview back to back. This last week, as soon as I got back from Lightbox, literally as soon as I landed, I was lined up for interviews, including today. I had one, and so to say that there isn't anything, I don't think is accurate. But to say that there's not a tidal wave of like challenging layoffs that are happening as we speak, that's also not, I don't think is reasonable. And as many things do, there's like always going to be a bust or a boom and a bust, you know? And so we might be in another one of those. Like I said, there are more concerning things on my mind these days. And I honestly do not want to get too deep into that. But one thing that I know I can control is trying to give back to the community. Because after going to Lightbox, I was very, very inspired. And like I said, I met a lot of people that do feel lost in the days. You know, like I had some really good conversations with people during the day. Very, very meaningful and powerful conversations that only inspired me to kind of get back and be a positive force and light in our community. I used to be very active in that, and I used to bring a lot of, you know, insight and pragmatic tools to people to kind of help them get past these incredible challenges. Don't look at the loom and gloom. It's always temporary, you know. And so don't get too caught up on that. But what I will say is, if there was ever a time to double down on trying to get better and to increase your presence, do what I'm doing, man. Just start doing it. You know, I promise you, if there's ever a time, and you'll be surprised of the benefits of this. But I would be a liar to say that there isn't a bit of like a shaky ground right now, at least on the appearance of it. But there are gerbs, man. Seriously, they do exist. But I hear you, man. It feels like a wasteland out there, and it seems like one too. And there's like crazy layoffs. It's really disheartening. And a lot of people I know, man, and it's like fucking a bummer. But yeah, I bet Falcons will be okay. Like I think Mullins too. I think they just caught themselves maybe in a situation where their pants were down and they weren't entirely sure because they just always been employed. You know, I don't know. I actually have no context of what was going on with either of these people, so I don't want to project any kind of false narrative here. It might be as bad as you're making it out to be, or it could just be a hiccup in their like they just haven't dealt with this. Where I have been in and out of jobs throughout my entire career, you know? So I'm pretty comfortable with this state of affairs whenever this happens. You know what I mean? Like I've been, like, and I think it's literally the pandemic, like at pre or post pandemic, there have been incredible amounts of layoffs and company shutdowns, and it's kind of bonkers. But just today, I heard that there's like a startup from the ex Blizzard, ex Riot folks, and they got seed funding for it already. My buddy was messaging me about some of these opportunities to potentially do art direction and maybe principal art stuff. But we'll see. I'm not as certain about those opportunities just because I don't really know if I would be a good fit. But you never know. And I don't mean that just from the perspective of like they might not want me to work there. It's also has to be a good fit for me as well. You know, and some of the stuff, you know, it's not clear to me that I'm into it, but we'll see. We shall see. So hopefully it helps you out, FH. That was a great question. I actually am very happy that you brought that up because that's like I can tell that a lot of people in our industry are pretty nervous, and I think that's a very important thing. I'm graduating this semester, and I'll be looking for an art job. Well, mohorais, Start to post your artwork. Like I said, pre-COVID people were hiring like crazy. I think I read that already. Could you make more exaggerated things in its other arm? Yeah, okay, I'll do that, Juan Pablo. Great suggestion. Watching these streams not live, it's nice to catch one. Oh yeah, nice to see you, Max. Welcome on over, dude. I see riggers, even in the game industry, who are begging for work on LinkedIn, even though 10 years experience under their belt. If even riggers can't get work, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, no, I've been telling you. I think I'm telling you what it is. I think the thing is, most of the open positions I have seen are mostly senior concept art positions, and every single one of them requires 6+ years of existence. Makes it tough for younger guys. Yeah, I always hear this one. This is one of those things that reminds me, like, so my parents, I was talking to my dad about like Halloween. I was like, hey, we're gonna go to Halloween with the kids, and he's like, they're putting fentanyl in that candy. Your kids are gonna be drugged out of their mind. Now, maybe that's true. Maybe there's some fentanyl laced Tootsie Rolls out there that I don't know about. But I feel like I've heard that since I was a kid. And so there are just some things that are consistently true that I always hear, which is like, well, the 6 years experience. But I promise you, I've encountered countless amounts of people straight out of Art Center who are incredibly good, and they just get the work. If you have the capabilities, you can typically land these positions. They say they want senior. It doesn't always mean that they want somebody that's like knows every ins and outs of the industry. Sometimes they just want to hire somebody who can fill the role effectively. Like they need a concept artist of some sort. So for instance, like the role that I was approached by just recently, they even told me, like, I think we need to upgrade this role to make you even a potential candidate, because we feel like you might be overqualified for this position. So we're going to see what we're going to do. We're going to move it around a bit. Because I think from their perspective, it would be nice to bring me on board onto the team, because it will be a great opportunity, for everybody involved. And vice versa. Sometimes if you're not as senior, they'll be, okay, we'll just make it a regular, associate position, right? So it's not always like cut and dry. I wouldn't like follow the path of whatever's written on paper, like as law. It is one of those things when you talk to people and interface with people, they're a lot more reasonable and a lot more caring of your situation than you might think. You just got to demonstrate some competency. Like I said, this company is really great, and I would be very honored and privileged to work with them. I have worked with many great studios and many great projects. This one, in my mind, would be one of the most fun and fulfilling career paths I might have taken in a long time in terms of my ability as a concept artist. So I'm very, very eager of this position, generally speaking. I typically, these days, because I have a little more time in my hands, I am typically more engaged on working on projects that I think would be cool rather than just the prestige, and this is one of those projects. But what I will say though, this would also be prestigious. It's just that I'm more excited about what it is. And if I land this gig, you guys will know about it. I'll let you guys know exactly what it is, and you guys will be, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's like I said, it's not obvious. It really isn't obvious that it is doom and gloom just yet. I'll let you know if it is. I won't lie to you guys. I promise you. Okay? But I've always said this, no matter what, no matter how many years I've been doing this, I think it's been consistent, man. You got to make great work, and you got to share that work. And like I said, I went to Lightbox, and a lot of people just weren't seeing that, they weren't understanding that. And I had to like talk to a lot of my friends and some of my old colleagues and some people. I was really having these conversations, and I felt like, here's a good example. There's this kind of epidemic that's been kind of pointed out of like what they call like the lonely man epidemic. I'm sure some of you guys may have heard this. It talks about the idea that there's like a lot of dudes out here who are lonely. They don't got girlfriends, they don't got boyfriends, they don't got nothing. They're just like lonely men, play video games all day. And I believe that this is true. I don't think that this is exclusive to men. I think there's something going on with women as well. But then this whole world has spawned around this premise, which they call the manosphere and red pill community. I do not agree with a lot of these principled ideas that these people are saying, but it makes sense why they're coming out of the woodworks and why they're successful. And so to me, it wasn't so much like this. Like it's not like I'm witnessing the lonely man situation in our community. Maybe that does exist. I don't know. But what I'm saying is like there's like kind of like the this the 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 distanced artists problem, like, or the lost artists problem. I'm starting to recognize. That's why my classes do exceptionally well, even after like 10 plus years of teaching. They still do very well. My tutorials still do very well. My YouTube channel, again, a lot of this is Lightbox. Like, people are coming up to me and are like, dude, your YouTube channel changed my life. Like, these types of things, it became obvious to me there needs to be more people that are like not constantly filling people's minds with only the consequences and challenges of the world around us, because those have always been true, and people have found ways around them in most instances. You know, I can't speak for all instances. Again, I think there are some situations that it's hard to kind of have this conversation about. But in this instance, I do think it's a consequence of a lot of things lining up, and it looks really, really bad, you know? But the game industry is still blowing up and doing very well. I'm telling you, like, the company that I was just working for shut down the U.S. branch, and the company I work for was making like hundreds of millions of dollars last quarter. So it can't be all a money thing, you know? There is other things at play that contribute to massive layoffs, and I think it's not obvious to a lot of people. And as somebody who's been in rooms where you had to make these types of decisions, and sometimes it made a lot of sense, right? But other times it didn't. And I remember back when I used to work at Sony Santa Monica, we experienced that. That was many years ago, and it was pretty lame, you know? And I think that we're just seeing it again. It's just like this rebound effect. So it sucks. It's unfortunate. And many of my friends and colleagues, including the ones we just named, may be in a compromised position. And it seems really like, if they can't do it, like, what all the rest of us are? I bet if you give them a month or two, they'll be back on their feet and doing fine. In fact, they might be working for even bigger and better places that they were before, and maybe even bigger and better positions than they were before. Just temporary. You know what I mean? So just hang tight. If come not Thursday, if it come February and March, and we're still seeing massive layoffs, and we're seeing that some of our idols truly can't find work, then I will start to put up the red flags of like, hey, we might as an industry need to start doing something to protect ourselves from these corporate from the corporate greed, you know, because it has gotten out of hand. If it hasn't already, I think people are looking at the strikes as like, look, maybe there is an opportunity to leverage ourselves. You know, they're looking at the fight against AI and all this stuff. So maybe there is a revolution on the horizon here that could help sort this out. But regardless if the revolution comes or not, get good and let people know you're good. I promise that's a helpful tool. I promise. Okay. All right. Let me see what else. I think lost the position. Feels bad. Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's temporary, man. If I've like, because it feels bad to say you take a risk and it didn't pan out. I've been doing this shit for 15 years, and I'm telling you, I've been a part of one layoff, three shutdowns, um, throughout my entire career. So I've experienced these throughout time. And I had another layoff too, early in my career. So I've seen it. And I've also seen a lot of these layoffs and shutdowns throughout my career indirectly, like not being a part of the companies, whatever, that had this happen. So I am not yet convinced, because there are, again, like there are some very obvious like events that just happened in the last 3 years that we can all agree are not usual and that can have a cascading effect. You know what I mean? Now, will that cascading effect stop? That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Give us some more time. But maybe it has at the end of the year, and especially towards January, February, if we start seeing a lot more recruitment, um, you'll know that I was onto something, that there was some accuracy to what I was saying. But anyway, yeah, just keep an eye out. Let me see what's going on here. Let me see if I skip some, bro. Small, weird demon pet for this guy. Okay, Kyle, I'll totally do that. Some companions are outsourcing to cheaper labor, which is good news for us, people living in third world countries. That is good news for you. And I am happy about some people outside of the Western market getting access, but it is also a bummer for some people that are like used to trying to ask for higher wages. So I hear you. It's a little bit of like, what's the name for that? It's like a little bit of, it's like it's not catch 22, but something along those lines where it's a little bit of like, I forget the name. There's a phrase for this, but it's fine. Oh shoot, what the heck? Why did my screen just flash? Am I still streaming it? Yeah, we're good. We're good. Little companion on its way. Here we go. I'm trying to keep track. I don't have much more time. I need to go to bed. I'm feeling the tiredness creeping into my bones. Heck yeah, back streaming. You'll have a good day. Yeah, I'm going to try to stream every day. So I'm going to stream tomorrow too sometime. We'll see. Yeah, this is my first time coming across this type of recession. I'm still 26 and have worked for about 4 years. So maybe this is just a cycle. Yeah, I'm almost 40. So yeah, I've seen it. And like I'm on my career is about 11 years younger than you. You know. So don't don't get me wrong. I do think there is a bit of a catalyst on its way. And I've been trying to decipher what that might be. Okay. And I've been telling my students and warning my students of this very specific catalyst. But I am not 100% sure just yet. There are some clues, including the one I just gave with the AI artist who got hired and fired like literally the same week. But the catalyst is, I do believe that cheap labor will definitely make a huge impact on kind of moderately skilled and intermediately skilled artists in Western areas who are not amongst the culture of cheap labor. You know, but the consequence of that will still remain of like why I think people who are really good at what they do will thrive. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying like senior level 17 years in the industry. I'm saying like you're just really good at what you do, and there's no fucking doubt about it. Because you can hire as many cheap labor artists and people in the world, and they will not add up to a very skilled senior level like artist. That has always been true. I hire outsourced companies quite often. When I was art directing, I've worked with outsourced companies. And if I could hire a senior person in their stead, I would have. But it was a time where it was hard to hire senior level people. I think this opportunity that I might get is a consequence of like, they're realizing that there are more people available to hire. And so now, because these people were not available before, they were working on these really big projects, and now they are available. So I think they're going to get swooped up eventually, and the world will balance itself out again. But there has always been room, even when I was in these positions of hiring, there's always been room for really, really good artists. It's just hard to find them, you know? And so I would stay positive. Don't get too doom and gloom. Just double down and getting fucking good. And like I said, there's alternative stuff. You can create your own content. You can also create your own projects, like I mentioned here. One of the main tools of this thing outside of like helping people out truly is to market like my own project that I've been working on. Me and my business partner, we were having a good conversation about better ways to kind of get our game out there. I've been working on this already for about last half a year. And so I have no intentions of really stopping. I want to kind of get this going, really kind of make this a big deal. And so if you guys go to my website and go to the, I think this is the games tab, you can actually play the demo. I would love for you guys to try it. I think I could shoot you guys a link. Here, let me see if I can do that. It's free. It's just a demo. So if you have any input, join the Discord, give us some feedback at any moment of your day. Yeah, I think I can put links, but y'all can't. Keeping the spam out. But my primary goal outside of helping the community out again, being the beacon of light of hope, and bringing positive vibes back to our community, because it does seem like there's a lot more criticism and more like kind of people talking shit these days than there are people talking just like up and bringing people up, But I also want to kind of like showcase my project as I work on it. Right now, I'm just doing this thing as you guys are telling me what else to add. I have to keep reading. I didn't read any more stuff, so let me try to get back to that. But what was asked by FH, I think, can be on a lot of you guys' minds, and it's a very important question to answer. And I'm glad that you asked, and hopefully, this brings you some comfort. But let me be clear: I am no sage. I have no idea. I'm going off of my own personal experience and what I've seen over many years. There are recessions; they do happen, and recessions typically bounce back. That also happens. The 2007 crisis didn't affect me too hard, but it did affect a lot of my friends really bad. I remember. And I think it might have affected my school, ultimately, the school that I ended up going to, which made it generally a shit place to go learn as a consequence, So there's always going to be these things that are just paradigms that consistently stay doing the things they're doing. But yeah, man, if there was ever a time to be your own creator, I mean, dude, trust me, this is the time. I've been watching a lot of these like indie game dev stuff, and there's this game that I really want to play by these indie devs. It's a horror game where if you scream, and it's done by two guys. And it's super popular. It's where if you scream, you die. And so you have to play the game with the headset on, and so if you scream, it just resets the whole game for you, which is so hilarious. I thought that was a really fun idea. Let me keep going. Barry White, back at it again. AJ, how's your hand? My hand's good, man. It healed completely fine. It feels great. It just looks like I got in a street fight and I shoved my fingers into the person's mouth and they took a big bite. That's what it feels. That's what it looks like. But they feel good, man. Thanks for asking. For those of you who didn't know, I had a freak accident where my right hand got eviscerated by a ceramic toilet or toilet sink. And if you don't know what happened there, maybe some other time I'll tell you guys a story about that. But I am trying to get out of here. I'm almost done with this kind of demo. How long have I been spending on this? Should be as long as I've been doing. I guess it's saying I spent about only 12 minutes. So I guess it's tracking when I'm actually painting. It's not tracking just the time on it, which is great. I've been supercharged up artistically after Lightbox. Yeah, man. It really motivated me. I was in a different spot when I went there. I was more kind of focused on just just kind of my own personal challenges and my own professional challenges. I was just focused on myself. And I've been like that for years. So it's not like I checked the logs of the last time I streamed. It was 6 years ago. So this wasn't anything new. This is just kind of something I've been working towards. A lot of stuff. I've moved a lot. I took a lot of different opportunities, chances in my career. But now I feel a lot more focused these days. I'm going to do my last, I have a couple more classes left at the end for this year. And I have a couple bonus classes. And then I'm going to start my final mentorship at the beginning of next year. And that will be my last one for a while, just because I do need to kind of just get my like life in order in terms of like actual order, like not in terms of anything too crazy. It's just like, I moved a lot. I had a baby in the last 2 years. I, survived through the pandemic. I experienced the pandemic. Um, my kids are getting older. They're like having more identity. And so there's more to what they are trying to identify as and become and as they grow up to become adults. So these types of things are like something that I didn't contemplate that I needed to worry about. But I'm like, I do worry about this. I want to be there for I don't want to be an empty seat at my son's soccer game kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I like took my daughter to ballet class. Like I want her to know that I support her in her journey and whatever this is, if she ends up going somewhere with it or not. So to me, it's like, these are the things that are on top of mind these days. But after going to Lightbox, I was just like, bro, like the art community is the best. I need to come back and be a big contributor in this. I need to help be a beacon again. I was very good at doing that before, and I can do it again. It just reminded me of it. I had really, really great moments with people, and it was really inspiring, very, very inspiring, very motivating. Um, and I've been supercharged. Really appreciate all the contagious positivity. Time to dig down and get good. Exactly. Would love to visit Lightbox. Stock. Who is this? Slack. I have a question. I took a break from concept art for a few years and worked on another field. I'm now building a portfolio again to find work as an entry level. But should I be worried? I've had this advice for many years. You should always go for like high level jobs, always, because if you get entry level with a high level skill, that's something that you can still work towards getting a better and bigger job. But if you're a lower entry level, it not only is going to be hard, and it has always been hard. I do believe, and this is the catalyst I was talking about, I do believe it might be harder in the coming years. I do believe that to be true. Like FH was kind of bringing this up earlier. And I do believe he's or she's onto something, that is going to be a consequence. But I also believe that people who are exceptionally good, except for the examples that were brought up, that makes it seem like this is not true. I highly doubt that they will not find something in the next coming weeks. I promise you. I think they're just too good. It's just not going to happen. It's just, I think they're usually probably used to steady amounts of work. So this is probably the first time where they had gaps where I'm used to it. So I'm not like too worried about it. And so they are probably, it just makes everyone feel nervous. It feels bad. But maybe there were more, maybe there were a lot more that I didn't realize. But I can tell you in the last 3 to 4 weeks, like the last month, I've had roughly 10 interviews with 2 of them pending. And then 1, I got, right. And so it's like a really big contract deal for Riot. And so I can't talk much about what I'm doing for them, but it's a pretty good one. And it's a great project. And I've worked with them before in capacity as a contractor. So they've hired me plenty of times before as a contractor to be brought onto their projects and help them out. So, and I worked on like another, and this one I can't really say, earlier this year, which was also a pretty big deal. It will probably be released next year, and I can talk more about it then. But I was very happy to work on it. But that's all like within this year, and then like the last month, this has happened. That's what I'm saying. And I feel pretty good about these next 2 leads that I got. But who knows? Anything can happen. Nothing can come of it, or something can. But I feel very positive about at least 2 of these out of the what was it? The 10. And one of the, like I said, one of the gigs that they told me, like, look, man, we're not going to hire you, not because we don't want to hire you. We actually love you. It's because this position, even though it has lead in the title and senior in the title, is actually, we weren't really looking for that high in leadership and that high in seniority. Actually, it was the opposite. So we're going to kind of change the title here, or we're going to hire somebody at a little bit lower level, because we know for a fact this would not be a good fit for you because you're overqualified. And that might sound silly, but there's a lot of good reasons for it. Trust me. And you'd rather be overqualified than underqualified, if you know what I mean. And so, yeah, don't give up on this opportunity. But what I will say is that there are a lot more incentives I would encourage to get better at multiple tools. So for instance, I use 3D often, I paint often. Oh, my thing's about to die. Battery, hold on. I think it's because it's streaming too. That normally doesn't happen. Yeah, am I charging now? It should be charging. And so I would highly encourage you guys to stay positive. Don't get too distraught. Because I still have, like, listen, guys, I have friends who are still working in the industry at like senior level positions. My buddy just got hired potentially for a large company that's under the umbrella of Sony, you know, like just at Lightbox, he got this opportunity. So to say that this is not happening is crazy. It's also happening. Trust me. And a lot of the positions too, if I remember correctly, were not necessarily art positions. A lot of them were like HR recruitment type positions. I think a lot of those people lost their jobs this round of layoffs and hires. Like it's been a lot of like more of operations, which not to say that they aren't worth their weight in gold, but it's a little bit different. All right, I'm gonna step off of this, bro. But hopefully this is insightful for you guys. I hope this was like actually educational. I do need to get to bed. I can feel the slumber creeping into my bones. This guy is like, bro, go to bed. The fuck's wrong with you, dude? Want me to blast your face with this machine gun arm? I actually like the machine gun arm a lot. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, machine gun arm. What am I gonna try to make this work? But now I'm like, kind of want to find another way to give this person a machine gun arm. Maybe I can give him like, kind of like some sort of bladed hand. That could be pretty cool, right? Okay, let me try to see if I can do a little bit of reading here. I love your art. It's quick and decisive ability and very recreational. I hope you do not betray me, Google Translator. Hola from Peru. Welcome, Miguel. Help me. I'm lost as fuck. See, that's what I was just talking about. I feel like there's a lot of people. There's a lot of great art content, trust me, on YouTube on how to get good at art, but not too much on like kind of directionality and insightfulness. My buddy Adam Duff, I think he does a great job. He comes out every once in a while and gives people really good feedback and insight. But I think Adam, you know, and I could be talking out of pocket here. I think Adam has been mostly and primarily focused on educational stuff. I'm not sure if he's been jumping back in and out of like work in terms of illustration. I think he did a lot more illustration stuff. So I can imagine some people, although his advice I believe is sound, like it's solid advice, I can imagine a universe where people are like, well, I don't know if he knows the market as well, like the game industry and film industry thing specifically. Which is a false assumption. I think he does have some good insight on that. But I can see the premise, and that only makes it harder. But someone like me, who is a working individual, can be like, yeah, it's tough out here. But hey, guys, trust me, it's okay. It's like kind of a cycle. But I think it's compounded with all the challenges of the last 3 years of what humanity has been dealing with, including this last year. And I'm not certain that it is 100% we're out of the waters, but I do believe if you start looking at January, February, you might start seeing what I'm talking about on the rebounds. I feel like I've become more and more reliant on 3D since I've started working in the industry. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I always tell people learn all the tools. I could probably do all my designs in watercolor if I had to. I can do them in crayons if I had to. Some tools work better than others. I've been primarily focused in the last year and a half in getting really good at my iPad because of the fact of I can go anywhere. Like I took this to my dance today, my daughter's dance. See, that's me. Like it's getting late. It's almost 11 for me, Mountain Time. Dude, I'm so tired. and I can draw. I would go to my son's soccer practice and I would draw. So I'm very, very much in the camp of like being very productive. But I, you know, I still work a lot in Photoshop, a lot in Blender these days. It is what it is. Like if you gotta, whatever the tool is that you need to do, if I still have, I haven't photo bashed in a long time. I've gotten away with just using 3D. 3D is like, seems like a much more advanced level of photo bashing these days. Because with the photo textures and like photo manipulating tools like Substance Designer and Painter, you can kind of make a lot of everything and just make 3D scenes and throw them into like maybe Unreal Engine, and now you have a traversable world. So I just don't think that being pigeonholed too much on your tool is a bad thing. Yeah, FH, I'm gonna step away from talking to you directly. I think a lot of your questions were great, but I'm starting to think I said enough about what I think you should consider. But I really do encourage you to stay a little bit more positive. Hell yeah. Hi, looking sick so far. Your work always feels very well textured. It looks mad cool. I appreciate that. Canon events. Yeah, I love that. I always tell people like it's just your origin story, you know? Only just got the back end of the AI discussion. I think AI is a tool. I truly believe it takes an artist to fully navigate, like photo bashing is something artists use often. Yeah, I do believe at some point AI will truly be some sort of tool that we will use as a community. I still do believe people are going to have a really hard time with it. Not in terms of like using it, but a hard time just dealing with it. But that was true. I was there for many of these paradigm shifts. I remember when people like, speaking of Craig Mullins, when he was using photo bashing, people were like, whoa, the fuck is this bullshit, you know? And before that, it was like digital painting. And then after that was like a lot of 3D tools. And then now it's kind of like AI might be on the frontier of the discussion. But I think the current state of it is, at least from my perspective, a pretty cut and dry. It's not a great tool to use. Not because you can't make great art with it, but because it's too much of a liability for now. But at some point, it will not become a liability, and I think it'll be harder to debate. So who knows? I don't. I say I'm going to talk more about this in another stream. Maybe I'll save some time tomorrow. I'll find out Pocket. I don't think so. Tomorrow's a packed day too. I might only be able to get away with a sketch again. I'm using Infinite Painter. For those who are asking about the thing. And thanks for the nice beanie comment. I appreciate that. That's way cool. I love the art that comes out of Rito. That's hired by Rito. I'm not sure who that is. Been way too long since I've seen you stream, bro. Yeah, man. Coming back. Only catching the end here, but it is always nice to watch and learn from you. Yeah, absolutely. Always happy to teach. Good night and sweet dreams. Oh, you guys are saying good night, letting me get out of here on time. Thank you so much. I was only going to do this like till like 10:30, 10:45 at the most, but I should have realized I was going to rant. I do need to go to bed. I'm getting a throbbing headache. I can feel it coming. What time is it over there? It's almost 11, but like I said, I have babies, so they're going to wake up at 6 and 5 in the morning regardless of what time I go to bed. Hey, AJ, get to catch the end of this. I got to head to bed to catch your class tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'll see you then. What is up, man? The sketch is looking awesome. I've always been a big fan of your values. How's everything been? Kind of talked a little bit about it in the beginning, just in case you want to go back and listen to it. But I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. I feel really good. I feel very happy that I'm doing this. All right, let me just keep running positive vibes. Yeah, man. Always. Yeah, I'll catch you around, FH. Keep us updated. Hey guys, do Discord chat that we can criticize each other's artwork. You can join my Discord. That's in the link that I provided above. Like I'm using my Dead Rock Games as my primary place where I'm gonna be a little bit more public facing, as a kind of as a tool to help bring people to check out our game too and give me feedback on what I'm working on. Man, feedback is what we need. We need a lot of feedback. But you guys can make your own. You don't have to join ours. You can start your own Discord, of course. Any chance we'll get some videos of examples of how you use Blender? It'll be interesting to see your workflow. Yeah, as a consequence of me doing less mentorships, I will probably do more tutorials, because tutorials are a little bit easier for me to kind of like knock out whenever I have time. When I have a class, I have to have like a very strict time. I had to move my class tonight because I was just like overwhelmed with, like, literally from start to end, I was doing something all day. And so I'm kind of like, from like having stuff with my kids, meetings with my business partner, working on, what was I doing? No, I didn't any really work. I was just like emailing people, and then I also had like a really long interview. Actually, it went really well, but it was very long. And then I ate food, took my daughter to dance class, and then now I'm here. Any chance we'll get some video examples of how you use Blender? I just read that. How long was this being going on? It's been about an hour so far, roughly, but I think it's time to clock out. Thanks for sending out a good message. You always have a relaxed and thoughtful approach. Very interesting. Yeah, man, always. Why we need to keep trying if there is AI. We'll save that for another conversation. Why Infinite Painter? I actually like it a lot, and more honestly, like I love the developer. He's a really good guy. I know him personally. His name is Sean. He's the guy that even brought me out to Lightbox to do demos for him and just kind of represent the brand. And he did that all just. He's like, hey, if you just come out, you can do whatever you want. Just talk for like an hour for me, and then you're off to do whatever you want for the rest of the event if you like. And I was like, okay. And he single-handedly may have changed my life by having me go to Lightbox. It really was an eye-opening reminder of my community is awesome, and I need to be back into it. So thank him. Get the app and give him feedback too if you don't have it already. But yeah, he did me a solid by bringing me out there. I think that was really nice. Really amazing to see you back. Thank you so much for giving infinite knowledge. I want to thank you. Yeah, thank you. I was in Nicaragua. I'm actually I'm out back in the States now, so don't worry. Good having you back. Sleep well. Thank you guys. Many thanks to all of you guys. Yeah, and Infinite Painter is on almost all the mobile platforms, so feel free to swoop it whenever you like. I might paint on this a little bit more in my bed and just call it done and put it online so you guys can look at it. But hey guys, I gotta get out of here, dude. I'm so tired. All right, deuces. You guys have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you're doing, brunch, midnight run of caffeine, like whatever you're doing right now. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. I'll see you guys sometime tomorrow for those of you who are going to be just hanging out. And like I said, check out the game project if you can. I'll put the link again here. There should be a link to the Discord and stuff there. But we would love to get some feedback from you guys, please. So have a good one. Cheers.